WandaVision. Does it hit? Does it miss? I will tell you coming up, but I have a big theory for where this show is going, so stay tuned.
Wanda and Vision. Aren't we a five pair?
Hey everybody, welcome to KM Reviews. I am Niddleman, and today I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on the show WandaVision, or at least the first 2 episodes, because that's all that came to Disney Plus today, and then it's going to be 1 episode a week after that. I say first impressions and not really a review, because how can you review something that's this early in the story, and it's obviously going to progress in an astronomical way? Okay, this show is supposed to lead into the new Doctor Strange movie from what I've read, and that's pretty fitting because this show is strange. Now, this talk is going to be completely spoiler-free, but if you stick with me till the end, after I kind of talk about my first thoughts on this show and where I think it might be going, I'm going to be giving a little bit of a backstory on some theories that I have of where this show is going to go, and a little bit of the story of the comic that this is based on to an extent. So if you want to stick around for that, go ahead. Otherwise, let's get into what I think of this show. So right away, I'll say that this show is not going to be for everybody. It is definitely not going to be for every Marvel fan out there, or definitely not the casual viewer. This is a very different it's just a very different Marvel presentation, I guess you could say. Literally, the first 2 episodes are almost all black and white. The first episode especially is literally just like a Bewitched episode. You know, even the second episode too. For the most part, they are literally the most simple stories you could imagine. Don't expect, you know, Infinity War, any sort of Avengers sort of plot line initially presenting itself. The first episode, as described on Disney Plus, is Wanda and Vision struggle to conceal their powers during dinner with Vision's boss and his wife. Yep, that's literally what the first episode about, and the second episode is essentially about them putting on a magic act for the community. Now, the first episode literally is just a sitcom. Even my 7-year-old daughter was watching it and kind of chuckling along. It's a very simple show, and to be honest, I think a lot of people may not like that. As for me, I really enjoyed it, to be honest. I grew up, when I was a kid, I would watch Nick at Night and watch like Happy Days and Bewitched and that sort of stuff. And so to me, it was kind of this weird nostalgia feeling, and they do it very well. And Paul Bettany, who plays Vision, actually mentioned in an interview that they were filming most of these episodes in front of a live audience.
It's to an audience, and we filmed it in front of a live audience.
It was nerve-wracking, but I think it was so rewarding and so funny.
What a charming door knocker.
So they do have a laugh track on there, but you can just tell the way that they're filming it, the way it edits. They do a very good job at bringing you back to those old style shows. You know, they got the swipes between the scenes, the music, even the way they talk, the way they dress, everything about it is literally a major throwback. But why are they doing this? Why? Well, in essence, that's the mystery of the show. Why is this all going on? Even the people in the show are kind of wondering what's going on.
But this is the MCU, so of course all is not what it seems.
I think something's wrong here, Wanda.
Wanda and Vision know that something is wrong, that something's amiss. Even some of the other characters, without spoiling anything, feel like something's off, something's wrong. They're even kind of scared. So who is doing this to them? Well, I don't know. I have my theories that I'll talk about in a little bit. Now, at the end of the second episode, things do start to progress a little bit more. Again, the first episode is very simple. The second episode definitely starts throwing in hints that there's a lot more going on here than we see at the surface level, especially by the way the second episode ends. You can tell, oh, this show is going to start to progress here on out. And from a lot of critics that I read, they actually had access to the third episode as well, and they all say that the third episode, things really start to progress even more. So if you don't like the first episode, please stick it out. The second episode is a little bit slower, in my opinion, even than the first, but by the end, the second half of it at least, things get really interesting. Now, there's not a lot to talk about with a spoiler-free review of this, because essentially my reaction is that I enjoyed it. Not a lot happens, but there is some mystery involved. Why is it black and white? Why are they in the 50s. This takes place after Endgame. So how is Vision alive? I don't know. So this is where I'm going to get into some of my theories on the show, where I think it's going, and also kind of intertwine the comic book that I think this show is really basing it on and why I think it's going to go in certain directions. So if you just wanted to know my first impressions, that's kind of over with. I liked it. Not a lot happens. Stick with it. I think the show is going to progress a lot. That's really all there is to say about it. But where do I think this show is going? Why? Where to begin? Now, for you non-comic book readers, there is a storyline called the House of M. Okay, this is a big storyline that essentially revolves around the Scarlet Witch and her going crazy and the X-Men trying to kind of contain her from going crazy.
I'm fine.
So how does that relate to this show? Because the X-Men aren't in this universe, right? Well, my big theory is that this show is going to introduce the X-Men. In the House of M storyline, it is essentially this WandaVision thing, right? You have Professor X, Magneto, Doctor Strange trying to kind of contain her from going crazy at the loss of her kids. I think in the show, I think she's kind of losing it over the loss of Vision. So how is he in this show? I think that during Avengers Infinity War, when they were extracting the stone and doing all that stuff, I think that a portion of him was kind of put back into a computer system. You know, he used to be Jarvis. He can live in the internet, whatever you want to call it. So I think he doesn't remember the events of Infinity War. I think that Wanda knows a lot more of what's going on than she's letting on. People in this show seem to be kind of scared of her in certain instances. And I think she is actually the antagonist of the show. I think that it's her trying to make this perfect world because she's so distraught by how things went in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame and losing her love that she wants to be in a world where she is with the one that she loves and everything is perfect and nice and lovely. But her having this reality warping power is causing a lot of issues. And so I think people are trying to slowly get through to her in the show of like, hey, what we need to, I don't know how to explain it. I think that Professor X, this is just a theory. I think Professor X is going to be revealed at the end of this show as someone who is helping her get out of this reality warping vision. How are they going to do that? I have no idea. But there's a commercial, because they put commercials in this show, in the second episode about this watch, right? And it's called Stryker, right? But if you actually look at it, the U looks like two eyes, and it looks like Stryker. And if you're familiar with X-Men, you know Stryker is in the X-Men. And I don't know, there's also a symbol that appears in both episodes of, spoiler, sort of, if you don't want anything spoiled, but there is a symbol in both the first two episodes of a sword. Okay, and the sword, I forget what it stands for, but it was kind of like how Avengers has the shield, right? X-Men introduced sword, and it was basically this other government entity that protected people or whatever it does. But again, I just think there's multiple aspects of this show that introduce the fact that the X-Men could start getting involved, and this show is going to introduce that. At the end of the day, guys, I want to know what your first impressions of the show are. Comment below and let me know. What are your theories? Where do you think the show's going to go? Do you think it's going to introduce the X-Men, the Fantastic Four? Do you think that's like way out of the realm of possibilities? Because Disney does own Fox now, which the X-Men, you know. Did you like the first two episodes? Would you want to watch just a black and white sitcom with Wanda and Vision for like 10 episodes? Personally, I liked it for the first two episodes, but I'm kind of glad they're progressing it from there. I don't know, guys. I'm really excited to see where the show's going to go. I really like the second episode, how it throws in these hints of these creepy things that happen, and I don't know. I don't know. This is such a unique show. It's such a unique, ambitious thing for Marvel to do, especially with not having a movie all of 2020. And this is the first Marvel thing we've seen for a long time, and they're going this route. It's really interesting, and I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. I think the first 2 episodes, a lot of people are going to drop off. I really do. I think you're going to see a lot of people posting about how they don't like it. But I think after more episodes come out, it's going to draw people back in, and people are going to love the show. And I think Marvel is smart enough to know that they have a plan for all this. I don't think it's a coincidence that this show's coming out after they bought Fox, and they are always trying to expand their stories, and I think the X-Men is the next way to do it. So that's all I have to say about that.